Yes, Yogesh, you're all set. Welcome back. Hi, Lena. Good morning. Folks who are joining, just say a hi to us. I'm Sridhar. I'm one of the co-founders of B2Brain, and this is Pranav. He's one of our first SDRs. Yogesh is the other one. He's just joined. He's been in the midst of taking care of a few personal things, so he's not able to come on board on the stage today. He's got a few things going on, but all of us are present here. Hey, Priya. This whole session was kicked off by a few inputs and feedback we were getting from prospects. They would ask in our conversations, particularly to Yogesh and Pranav, the SDRs here, they would ask about, what's the difference between us and, to like Zoom Info or Lucia or, even LinkedIn Sales Navigator for that matter. And we thought, what's a better way to help people understand, what each of us, what kind of role each of us play, and in that context also give you a sense of what kind of use cases does B2Brain enable for our customers, right? Our focus is to continuously keep learning from how customers use the product and keep on improving and focus on the problem that SDRs face every single day, which is to be really well prepared about how to engage with prospects in a manner that prospects like it, and in turn show respect for the SDR. In fact, we ran a poll last 3-4 days on, why should people actually do research about target accounts, and the number one response from that garnered most number of votes was to get the respect of prospects, because ultimately if the prospect respects you, there is business to be had sometime down the pipeline, right? So that's the idea behind this whole session. We'll walk you through the product and how people use it, show you some of the integrations, how B2Brain sits with the rest of your sales workflow systems, and delivers the value from within that. Lena's asking, can we learn about the difference between Sales Intel and B2Brain as well? We'll try and cover as much as we can. Uh, but I do know there are a few companies who use Sales Intel and speak very highly of them. We have not really dug deep into what's the difference between them and us, except knowing that Sales Intel is a lot more similar to what a ZoomInfo kind of a product offers. In addition to being able to enrich the database you might already have in your CRM, that's one of the more custom and differentiated solutions Sales Intel offers. That's how much I know of it, but I do know there are some people who regard it quite highly. Let me tell you a story. It's very common to see an SDR in a company that is targeting enterprises, going after 1,000, 2,000 people, businesses worldwide. The SDR gets handed down a bunch of accounts by the SDR manager and is told to build a pipeline worth X thousand dollars in the month or in the quarter. Okay. That's where the entire action begins. Now, once they've been given this list of accounts, what they go through the list of accounts. They think about, do they know somebody in any of these accounts, and if they don't know, they then go and load up these accounts in the CRM, typically a Salesforce or a HubSpot kind of a CRM. Enterprise targeting companies tend to use one of these CRMs. From our experience, there might be others, right? But they load up the accounts, then they you know try and connect to ZoomInfo and see if they can download a bunch of contacts from them, maybe 3, 4, 5, 7, 10 contacts per account. Download all of them, pull them into an Excel sheet, and then you probably have a sales engagement platform already running for you, say an Outreach or a Salesloft or something, and load up these contacts into your sales engagement platform, open one particular user in them. You want to write a message to that user to get started. Okay, so you do all this prep, then you have to get started. Then you write a message. You've been drilled a certain value proposition and how to sell that value proposition to prospects during your sales training, or you've been sufficiently experienced with the company. Now you write your message, and then you get hang of the sales engagement platform, and then say, okay, if I can send one message, I can send 10, I can send 100. Now I'll automate the message. I pull together a template, load up a bunch of prospects into that workflow or a cadence, blast out your message. After 2-3 days, you come back and see what sort of engagement is there. You get like a 5% open rate, and like maybe 1 or 2 clicks somewhere. Then you wonder, okay, what's going on? Why am I not getting open rate? So you go back, add a few more contacts, tweak something in the message, put some high first name, high company, etc., like a bunch of basic personalization tags, and then run the cadence again. You still don't get a better engagement. You come back and see what's going on. Okay, then a colleague or an AE tells you, let's assume Pranav is the SDR, right? Poor Pranav, but he does his work. Uh, the AE tells him, Pranav, why don't you just research this company and then write something about them, okay, and open a conversation. Pranav goes to Google, starts typing out. Let's say he's going after BJ's Wholesale Club. He types out something, BJ's Wholesale Club. Google throws about 1 million results, and then he goes through, click, 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 4 or 5 things. Nothing interesting. By this time, he's in the 4th or 5th page. Okay. He hasn't found anything interesting. His company is selling something very specific. His company is selling procurement software. Okay. He needs to know what's happening in BJ's Wholesale Club that makes his company relevant for them. That's when his prospects will sit up and take notice. Okay. All the information he's getting is like all and sundry information about BJ's Wholesale Club opening a new store, or they are trying to launch a new product and a whole bunch of things. But he's not getting the insights he wanted for his uh, value proposition. By this time, it's been a few days, and he has spent tremendous amount of time for all of his 100 odd accounts. He hasn't found anything interesting, or whatever is interesting is like literally a needle in a haystack. That is a common problem faced by several SDRs worldwide today. Okay. This is despite having tools like ZoomInfo, which give great lists of contacts, or Lucia, which gives your contact phone numbers whenever you want to call them, or verified emails and so on and so forth, right? Despite all of this, Pranav still has this problem of, how do I get information about a company relevant to my business with which I can craft a better and more personalized message? And that's where he continues to face the problem every single day. It doesn't go away easily. He has to decide to spend 3-4 hours on Google every day if he has to do better intelligent outreach and get better engagement. Pranav, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. So, a quick story. I used to work at a company, as Sridhar mentioned. We were into procurement SaaS, and this is an issue that I faced personally. And yeah, let's show what you know we can offer them.
Yeah, so this is the problem that we are facing with SDRs, and this is a problem B2Brain aims to solve for. Let me show you how that works out. Okay. So Pranav came to B2Brain. He uploaded all his accounts. He can upload a few hundred accounts at a time, right? And what B2Brain started doing is it understood what company he works for and started looking for information about each of those companies relevant to Pranav's business. Nothing else. Okay. And he had also mentioned what sort of people does he like to target. He mentioned, what sort of people, what sort of job titles, all of that stuff he has already given, which is great because that's how sales runs. Each SDR or each sales rep is given a territory, and they have to work on that territory and build a pipeline from the list of accounts there. Now that B2Brain started working, it finds out interesting things for Pranav to use in his outreach and presents it to him so that he can craft a message which the people in BJ's Wholesale Club would like to receive. Okay, so this is something that B2Brain brought into Pranav's dashboard. BJ's is launching a same day select program, which is like, you know, a faster delivery with greater variety, which means faster transactions, which means systems all have to pull up and be much more efficient, and they just have to do run things faster. That's effectively what it does, right? They increase the speed of the business. It has something really interesting going on. Okay, and BJ's is planning to launch it like it's right around the corner. Now imagine if Pranav is focused on selling a procurement and spend management software to BJ's. Something like this could really move the needle for him. He can position it as, look, BJ's folks, you're launching same day select, which means speed of business is much higher, and which means your systems have to buckle up, your systems have to get better. Okay, and you're going to have to make investments in procurement, in newer capabilities for your operations to run more efficiently. That's where our solution comes in. This is a potential message that Pranav can send out. And who does he send out to? To the chief procurement officer and to the director of commodities and strategic procurement. These are some of the leads suggested to Pranav from the B2Brain Intel. Now, this is great, but it could be painful for him to kind of look here, read up, and then go to his sales loft and then write up stuff, right? It's not the easiest of experience. So, what does he do? He gets the B2Brain experience right within his sales loft or within his Salesforce. It's available as a native app within your Salesforce, right? So he is on Salesforce. He sees that, you know, there are people here. There is Frank Ho. He can import Frank Ho into Salesforce, right? And the person just got added. Now the person got added. It's straightforward for him to craft a message using the talking points from B2Brain, directed at Frank Ho, and send it out. How would he do that? I'll just show it to you. Let's assume for a minute this chatter is the email. I'm not sending an email from here, but he can just copy this, paste and edit the message, and off you go. Now that's gone. Now Yogesh is the other SDR in the team. Let's assume for a minute that Yogesh is the AE. Yogesh wants to know, how did this whole conversation with BJ's go? Pranav can just copy the link and share it here. So when Yogesh as the AE looks into the CRM, he has access to the same insights that Pranav used to set up the whole conversation. How cool is that? If Pranav wants to run his cadence from Salesloft and not from Salesforce, he can very well do that as well. He can import Alan into Salesloft, view that contact, and do the same thing. Copy the talking points, edit it, send out the message, and he's ready to roll. This is effectively what B2Brain enables you to do, which is it gives you contextual information about your target accounts that you can use in your messaging and make it really, really relevant for your prospects. No fluff, right? Right on the money. Now you can do this. Now you can make whatever changes, edit stuff, and you're ready to roll. This effectively Make sure that as an SDR, you're not spending a week a month on Google trying to find out and plow through like bunches of links and documents. Instead, you're focusing on what's useful for your prospects and relevant for your business and engaging with them in a manner they give you respect and they engage with you better, right? It comes out of the box with the integrations that you want. You want integrations on your CRM, it connects to your Salesforce, HubSpot, Zoho, Freshworks. You want integration in your sales engagement platform, Salesloft, Outreach. You want engagement on your collaboration tool on Slack. New intels as they come, they show up in the B2Brain Chrome extension or within your Salesforce app or in Slack and as an email and as a notification on your dashboard. So Intel will never miss you. If you don't use it, you might miss the Intels very quickly. You can, of course, go back and track a bunch of new accounts. Now you've worked on a bunch of accounts and they've gone down the pipeline, they've become opportunities. You stop tracking them, you start tracking other accounts, right? And that's very easy as well. You stop tracking Ceridian, you stop tracking Anaplan, you start tracking Ceres Imaging. And then you realize that you want to change the target persona. Maybe in your team, in your company, there is a different sales play being executed by your sales leadership. They say, certain SDRs go after the C level and VP level, certain others go after the director and manager in the same enterprises. Sometimes you need to tag team to open an account. Sometimes enterprise accounts can take a while. So you want to go and adjust your target persona that you're working with and change the titles you want to focus on. You remove some of these titles, you put in other titles, and off you go. Or sometimes what happens is companies realize that you want to target people from a new geography, not from an existing one. You go and update those geographies here. Or you like different kinds of intel that is resonating with your prospects. Go and change the preferences. So you can change all of these preferences at any point in time based on what market, what target accounts, what kind of people you're going after. That's a 15-minute overview of B2Brain. And of course, needless to say, as Yogesh always tells me, the best way to experience the product is by trying it out with a few of your accounts. Nothing better than that. Because even in trial, B2Brain aims to deliver you insights that you can use in your daily life. Okay, so it's free to try for 10 accounts over 14 days. Go give it a shot. I'll pause here and check for any comments, any questions that might come. So, I mean, yes, there is a 14-day trial. Yogesh already answered. Thank you, Yogesh. Matthias, is there a connection with Pipedrive? Interesting question. We have planned integration with Pipedrive. We haven't yet implemented it, but that's something we definitely want to do. It's here, right here. So if you wouldn't mind, go to the integrations page here and just vote for this. That kind of gets bumped up within our system and we can execute the integration faster. It gets more priority. Sikandar, uh, so during the free trial period, you can upload up to 10 accounts for a 14-day period. And once the trial is over, you decide whether you want to move forward or, you think it's worth a test budget, take a quarterly plan and start using it and then figure out how it works for you. And then decide how you want to kind of roll it out for your larger team. Right? Okay. Sundar has a question. How is the information about accounts different from the snippets we get on accounts on outreach.io? So if you, this is something that took me a while to clearly communicate to people. So I'm going to make an attempt here. Okay. If you look at the types of information about a company, you will see broadly two kinds of information. One is fairly static information. how many people are there in the company, what is the typical revenue size, where are the headquarters, what sort of business or category they are in, and so on and so forth, right? These information don't change every day or every week or month. Maybe once in a quarter, some small things will change. Like they might add like 20 people in the company. So from 500, they're now 520 or something like that. That's one sort of information. Typically, the metadata you get from the headers and the company websites and stuff like that. Okay. The other is the dynamic piece of information about a company. More specifically, information relevant to your business. Sundar, if you don't mind me asking, what sort of a business you are in? Can you just type that out, Leah? Yeah. Okay. Maybe there's a time delay, but let's assume we walk through one of the intels for Pranav, assuming Pranav's business is about procurement. Okay. Now, let's assume for a minute you are in financial automation systems. Okay. And we'll see what B2Brain might show up if you were to use B2Brain and you were to go after BJ's Wholesale Club. Okay. That might actually give you a better idea of what we're talking here. Look at this piece of information. BJ's is acquiring a cold chain and looking to integrate that into their whole platform to scale up their business. Now, whenever these kind of acquisitions happen, multiple systems have to come together and they have to work together for the acquirer to make economic value out of the acquisition. Okay. Now, one of the things that absolutely happens is you have to merge the systems that manage money. You have to merge the systems that manage, purchase orders and, payables and receivables, all of that stuff. So all of a sudden, this becomes interesting for, let's say, you were selling a financial automation platform. Okay. It suddenly becomes interesting for you. Okay. You are in locale.ai. Okay, that's great. So there might be other interesting things happening at BJ's for for which locale.ai might be very relevant for them. Let's say they're expanding in the Midwest and Pacific Northwest. Okay. They're expanding to new stores. They're talking about like a smaller format store that's going to come up sometime. Okay. The moment you talk about smaller format stores, the places where you want to put them in become very important, from your warehousing, supply chain, logistics, distribution, operating efficiency, all those points of view. And what's the base data for it? The ability to decide what sort of locations you want to be positioned in, and how do you make sure there is connectivity, the right kind of connectivity. I don't mean internet connectivity, I mean the right kind of connectivity for your supply chains and material handling to work. Okay. So when that happens, that's an opportunity for locale.ai. And if you were to use B2Brain to track BJs, that's the kind of intel you would get. Okay. Now, we believe this is a problem that every SDR in the world faces today. They just feel, they have access to a Google, so they can spend time and figure out the answer. Of course, you can figure out the answer. We are not giving any, proprietary information, right? This is all information out there. Like you can go read up acrofan.com on 25th of Jan and see for yourself this information. So it's information out there. What B2Brain actually does is gets you the needles in the haystack faster within your system without you having to spend hours and hours going through things. Okay. So that's really where it makes a difference. And it's also not like, for example, we just saw 3 different types of information about BJ's itself. Okay. Each of them is focused on 3 different types of SDR selling 3 different products and looking at BJ's as a target account. Now, the typical metadata about a company that you will see in a sales engagement platform like an Outreach or a Salesloft is going to be static pretty much for every user of their platform who's targeting that company. It will not really change. Our difference is that we focus on the dynamic and contextual data about the business that is relevant to you, nothing else. Okay, Varun has got another interesting question. Uh, there was one other there was one other question that I want to make sure I did not miss out. Okay, Priya earlier asked, does B2Brain work along with some other tools in the stack, right? Okay, and Varun has this other question of what are the tools in a stack that B2Brain can fully replace? Now, there is a there is an answer to both of these questions. Okay, one is if you think about the minimum stack you need to run a sales operations, especially outbound enterprise focused, that's our forte, that's the area we are strongest in, and that's where we focus on. You need a CRM, you definitely need a sales engagement platform, and you need a contacts and accounts database. Okay, if you have these three, you can get started and get running. Okay, everything else is potentially a nice to have. Okay, that's where it is. This is like the basic minimum. What do I need to get started? Okay, now if you want to become effective at outbound and targeting enterprises, these are typically a few months sales cycle, right? Pranav probably knows about it. It's like a few months to sometimes a few quarters even. Okay, then you need better efficiency, because what you build in top of the funnel is this quarter is what's going to result in deals in the next 2 quarters. Okay, so the top of the funnel is always has got a time urgency, and because you have time urgency, you want to trade time with better tools. You don't have so much time. Okay, you have about 65 days of work in a quarter. All right, 65 working days, that's all you have. 65, maybe 70. Okay, it's tough. In 70 days, if you're going to spend a third of your time sitting on Google, okay, that's like effectively 1 month spent on Google in a quarter. It's a non-trivial amount of time you've spent and lost your way and become slow. There are multiple people who estimate the loss in productivity because you don't do sufficient account research, and they estimate for a 10 people team it can be as high as $374,000 of productivity loss every year. Every year for a 10 people team. That's like 37K per user. Okay, so think about it. What B2Brain does is gives you back pretty much all of that time, makes you more effective, and gives you information with which you can move your pipeline. Okay, now if you have a fully developed stack, you got like enough of the products and tools. B2Brain doesn't replace any software that you have. B2Brain brings you new intelligence which you would otherwise get only from Google. That's the key difference. So what it does is it makes you faster. It makes you more effective. And it makes you get respect of the prospects through which your pipeline goes faster. Varun, did that answer your question? Okay, I think there's a time delay. Sundar, thank you. Uh, we have we have covered the way the product gets used in the day in the life of an SDR. There is another aspect to B2Brain, which is how can a team collaborate. We talked about how do you share intel with other people in the team and so on. Now it also has an ability for SDR manager to manage a team and be able to see the usage, the productivity, and the improvement in engagement over time. It's common for a lot of SDR managers to do pipeline reviews, okay, and see how are your conversion rates and your engagement rates getting better over time for your outreach campaigns. Now with B2Brain, you can look at it and say, how many accounts are you working on? How many are you tracking with B2Brain? How is the intel from that changing the way you're running your outreach, and how are you getting better with it? Okay, all of that can be seen from here. You can see for all the time, last week, last month. You can look at all of this information and get a better sense of how is your team upping the ante. Ultimately, SDR teams are like, the Manchester City or Chelsea or those kind of football teams, okay, or cricket teams, IPL cricket teams, whatever. You pick your team sport, okay. It's a it's a fantastically oiled machine with the right game plan, tactics, and ability to execute. They can go and win championships and tournaments, and that's kind of how the best run sales teams operate. And B2Brain aims to be part of that sort of a team that wants to win. So, Pranav, you want to add to us?
I think Sridhar, you have pretty much covered it, entirety. Just it made my life easier, and yeah, I'm sure it will. People can see the value that we are trying to do.
Awesome. So, we hope this was helpful for you. We will maybe we'll post the URL for a trial. Otherwise, you can go to b2brain.com and sign up for a free trial and check out the product. We are standing by to help you get more comfortable with it. Use the chatbot on the website if you need to communicate with us. We're generally super responsive. And yeah, we're around, and good luck with your quotas for this quarter.
Thanks everyone. Been through it already. Matthias has a comment.
Yeah, Matthias, go ahead. Do you want to ask your question? Or was this about Sikandar? Did I answer your question as well? Okay, maybe because there's a time delay,
Yeah,
it takes a while. Okay, Matthias has this interesting question. Do you manage to get the right intels? Is it keywords related? Or I guess you are asking, how do you manage to get the right intels? Is it keywords related? Okay, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. Um, so, Matthias, if you notice, there are two things that B2Brain does. One is, when you set up your trial, it understands which company you work for. Okay. And with that understanding, it goes and crawls and builds an understanding of the company you work for. What is Vacuo's business all about? You could also give additional keywords if those are important in your business, right? Now, putting these two together, B2Brain forms a point of view about what your business is and then looks for information that is relevant to your business. This is a fairly intense process that's run with a lot of machine learning technology that runs in the back end. It goes through millions and millions of documents to figure out what is most interesting for you and then bubbles that up in your dashboard. Okay, so it is basically formed by having a great understanding about what business you are in. That is how it can give distinct kinds of intel for if you're a supply chain company, if you're a logistics and a mobility or a location company or a finance automation company, whatever be the kind of company you are in, it understands that business very well and then does the work for you, which is something in most platforms today you will likely not find it. Like for Google, you and me and Pranav and everybody else is pretty much the same, right? So that's a fundamental difference, because of which it's able to give you information that you can use and nothing else that you will not want to use, right? Noise is a lot more than signals in the world today. I hope that answered your question. Okay, folks. I think we have overshot by a few minutes, but this has been helpful. Thank you for an engaging set of comments and for sitting through this. Please, you're most welcome to set up a trial and give us a shot. And of course, as I always tell every prospect and every customer, you're the reason we do this. So keep us honest. Let us know what you think, how you find the product. Let us know where we can improve. And good luck with your quotas for this quarter again. Thanks, Pranav.
Thanks, Sridhar,
Thanks again.
and thanks everyone for coming in. It was a great session.
Thank you. Bye.